Emmeline Plunneret said there were very advanced Hindu astronomers in 6000 BC. Vedas contains accounts of the dimension of Earth, Sun, Moon, planets, and galaxy. P. Johnstone said gravitation was known to the Hindus before the birth of Newton. The system of blood circulation was discovered by them centuries before Harvey was heard of. Albert Einstein said, "We owe a lot to the Indians, who taught us how to count, without which no worthwhile scientific discovery could have been made." B.G. Raleigh said, "Our present knowledge of the nervous system fits so accurately with the internal description of the human body given in the Vedas." Then the question arises whether the Vedas are really religious books or books of anatomy of the nervous system and medicine. The essence of Hinduism is contained in the Vedanta, the scientific and the theological doctrine of Hinduism, and in the timeless wisdom of Vedas. Hinduism explains that, in principle, there is no conflict between science and religion. In fact, the two fields are complementary. This is because of the understanding that the domain of each realm is well defined. In Hinduism, there are two categories of knowledge: spiritual knowledge, or Parvidya, and material knowledge, Aparvidya. Scientific knowledge is the realm of Aparvidya, and spiritual knowledge, knowledge of God and life, belongs to Parvidya. Vedas point out that scientific knowledge can lead to spiritual knowledge. Hinduism can be defined with 5 principles: God, Ishwar, soul, Jiva, time, Kal, matter, Prakriti, action, Karma. Of these, the first 4 principles are eternal, whereas karma is temporary. Based on these principles, Hinduism provides a deep knowledge and understanding of life and the universe. In its pure form, Hinduism is also known as Sanatan Dharma, or the eternal function of the living entity. Time is an impersonal and internal aspect of God. It has no beginning or end. According to Vedas, the present universe began 15,000 trillion years ago and will end in another 15,000 trillion years. Thus, the Hindu model of the universe is 104 times older than that predicted by the Big Bang model. The visible universe is one of the innumerable universes, and there are 8.4 million species of life in this universe. The distinction between God and soul, or Jiva, the living entity, is that God is infinite and the living being is infinitesimal. God is the supreme spirit and the living entity is the fundamental spiritual particle, soul, or Atma. According to Vedas, there's another reality in nature, different from matter. It is the fundamental spiritual particle called Atma. It is a transcendental particle and is ontologically different from matter. It has a conscious property and has free will, contrary to material particles like electrons. It is only by the presence of the Atma that matter appears animated. According to Vedas, every life form has Atma within it. In other words, not only do human beings possess Atma, but so do all microorganisms, insects, aquatics, plants, reptiles, birds, and so on. Fundamental quantities of Atma are the same nature as the Supreme Lord's and are as follow: Sat, which is external existence; Chit, full cognition; Anand, blissfulness; Svecha, and Chetna, consciousness. There have been many streams in Hinduism, and many of them propound many aspects of God. This generally arises due to the misconception about the nature of personal aspects of God being steeped in pantheism or anthropomorphism. According to Vedas, there are three aspects of absolute truth or God. All these aspects form the foundation of supreme reality. God exists in three internal aspects. The impersonal aspect, Brahman, the impersonal influence of the Supreme Lord's transcendental body is Brahman and is beyond cause and effect. The supersoul feature, Paramatma, which is the inspiration and guidance of all living beings. Paramatma is a partial expansion of the Supreme Person. This Paramatma feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is responsible for inspiration, discovery, creativity, and for the movement of all living entities. Each and every living entity has been given free will. Paramatma is responding and guiding each and every entity in the universe according to the desire and activities of the individual living entities. And the Supreme Personality, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality or the object of love. In our day-to-day activities, we feel a seemingly inexplicable guidance, what is sometimes described as an intuition or inspiration. This guidance is something more than mere algorithmic process. This happens often when we are deeply contemplating on a problem, and solutions comes like a flash without any connection to the line of thought that we have been contemplating. Many renowned scientists, mathematicians, artists, poets have reported their experience of inspiration. According to Vedas, this is an act of the Lord seated in the heart of everyone. Lord Brahma, the first created cosmic living being, defines Ishvar, God, the Supreme Original Personality. His transcendental body is made up of three spiritual elements: Sat, which is eternity, Chit, which is knowledge, and Anand, which is bliss. He is the origin of everything, animate and inanimate, and is the cause of all causes. He is the supreme controller and the prime mover of all cosmic manifestations. He has universal consciousness, and he is the well-wisher of every living being. He is beyond the perception of the material sense. According to Vedas, God has three kinds of internal energies: Sandhani Shakti, or existential potency; Samvit Shakti, or cognitive potency; Haldani Shakti, or pleasure potency. This is also confirmed in the Vishnu Puran. The living beings are also endowed with these attributes in different degrees. The absolute truth, God is the reality, Chit Swarup, possessing all these attributes in full. Vedas states that the material nature is broadly divided in three modes: goodness, sattva; passion, rajas; and ignorance, tamas. In order to accommodate the different desires of the living entities, the material nature, by the will of the Lord, manifests a variety of forms through the mixing of three modes of nature. All embodied Atma, human beings, animals, birds, plants, are influenced to different degrees by the three modes of material nature. Every Atma are engaged in different activities within this cosmic manifestation. From time immemorials, we are enjoying or suffering the fruits of our activities according to the law of karma. The results of the law of karma are singular and pointed, and there cannot be any error in them. The law of karma remains, although an individual may not remember the action that has caused the current reaction. Free will is quality of the life particle or spirit, and by exercising free will, an individual performs actions and is implicated in various reactions according to the law of karma. The use of free will either appropriately or inappropriately decide the course of life's journey. In the human form of life, free will is fully manifest, and the chain of karma can be cut off by choosing the appropriate action, the spiritual action. Therefore, karma is not eternal. However, according to Vedas, the law of karma and the three modes of material nature, sattva, rajas, and tamas, are responsible for biodiversity and for diversity in terms of levels of intelligence, degree of development of mind, and consciousness. There is a gradual evolution of consciousness through various species of life according to the subtle laws of karma. These life forms are said to be 8.4 million and include microorganisms, insects, plants, aquatics, birds, reptiles, animals, and human beings. According to the conscious evolutionary cosmic timescale, one gets the human form of life after passing through millions of varieties of life forms. It is not that natural selection and random mutations are the cause of biodiversity. According to Hinduism, the Atma continually transmigrates from one life form to the next until it reaches the human form where consciousness is fully developed and has a chance to re-establish its pure divinity of existence. One gets the human form of life after having changed 8.4 million other forms of life. Living entities such as worms, insects, and other animals are in shrunken consciousness. They are not as covered as plants, but their consciousness is not fully developed either. Human beings have budding consciousness. A bud appears shrunken, but it has the potential to bloom into a flower. Human consciousness has a similar potential. Thus, human beings have the innate ability to develop their consciousness to an almost unlimited extent, up to the point of knowing the absolute truth of God. In Hinduism, inquiry, jigyasa, is the fundamental duty of human life. Everyone inquires about something or the other. In the course of life, one experiences different phases like old age, disease, and many kinds of sufferings. Therefore, we want to find out the solution to these problems. Every research work is kind of inquiry. Unless a person is awakened to the position of questioning his sufferings, he is not to be considered a perfect human being. Humanity begins when this sort of inquiry is awakened in one's mind. Therefore, inquiry forms the most important process of acquiring knowledge. We want to know about these things that are beyond what we can see conventionally. We invent electron microscopes, telescopes, to satisfy our curiosity. But this is not enough. Our senses and extended senses are still very limited. Can a bird inquire about the meaning of his existence? Innocent and ordinary living beings like birds and animals inquire only of the bodily needs. They inquire where is water, where is food, where is shelter, and so on. However, they do not have the capacity to inquire about the deeper purpose of meaning of life. But in the human form of life, one is endowed with the unique ability to inquire beyond these bodily needs. This is the special and unique qualifications of a human form of life. When a child is growing up, he inquires from his parents about many things around him, such as, what is this, what is that? In this way, the child gathers knowledge from his parents. Since the conscious intelligence is fully developed, human beings can make different levels of inquiry, including the deeper questions about life. The most important inquiry of human life should be to find out about the absolute truth, jigyasa. Acquisition of knowledge can be done in three ways: pratyaksh, anuman, and revealed knowledge. Pratyaksh, or direct perception. According to Vedas, knowledge gained directly with the help of senses is known as pratyaksh. The gross senses are the visions, sound, smell, touch, and taste. Thus, the bottom-up approach will be unable to have the complete knowledge of God. Anuman, or inference. Although the sense capability of ordinary human beings is limited, The quest for scientific knowledge is to know the absolute reality, which is beyond the domain of material senses. Anuman means inference about an unknown object based on its relationship with another object that is conceivable through the senses. Logic constitutes the development of a set of arguments that can represent an observed phenomenon in nature. Since the sense of perception is limited, logic therefore has limitations and cannot be referred to be the absolute answer for an observed phenomenon. Limitations of pratyaksh. There are 4 limitations of the senses as follows. Brahma. The senses, including the mind, often malfunction under various circumstances and are thus illusioned. For example, a mirage in the desert. Pramad. This means that the senses may misguide a person and he is liable to commit mistakes. Due to the limitations in our intellectual conception, we sometimes wrongly interpret the sensory observations. Karan Patva. It means that our senses are very limited and can perceive only a very limited portion of reality. For example, we do not hear sounds which have frequency below 20 Hz and over 20,000 Hz. Similarly, we cannot detect electromagnetic radiations in the ultraviolet or infrared range. Vipralipsa refers to the cheating propensity. Honesty is the virtue of human life. However, sometimes one is overcome by pride, false ego, and arrogance, and one's senses are populated by the lower material modes of nature, and one becomes dishonest, and the cheating propensity dominates a person at that time. Logic cannot provide a final proof of anything. This is further supported by the statement, one should not use logic to understand what is inconceivable. Freeman Dyson also expressed, God may have more qualities than we humans are capable of imagining. If we would enlarge our senses and our emotions beyond the human range, we would experience a very different God. My conception of God is not weakened by my knowing whether the physical universe is opened or closed, finite or infinite, simple or multiple. God for me is a mystery and will remain a mystery after we know the answers to these questions. All that we know about him is that he works on a scale far beyond the limits of our understanding. Shabd, or revealed knowledge, and the top-down process. In Vedas, Shabd is the most important in receiving of valid knowledge, and the other 2 optimistic elements, Pratyaksh and Anuman, are to assist the Shabd. A revealed knowledge is transmitted from the supreme authority, God, to the bona fide and sincere recipient. The recipient should be completely surrendered soul to the Supreme Lord, and he should be eligible to receive the transcendental mercy of the Lord. As mentioned earlier, this process is also called a top-down approach in receiving knowledge. There are 3 fundamental principles in realizing the revealed knowledge. Firstly, every revealed knowledge should be accepted as a divine axiom. Secondly, the genuine scriptures should be understood as they are, and they should not be interpreted in any way to suit the motives of any particular individual or group. Thirdly, a mood of true humility is essential in receiving divine knowledge of God. In this regard, we also see many great scientists who show symptoms of utter humility. The essence of all religions consists of morality, ethics, humility, and love of God. Spiritual or religious life is a must for every human being, which provides moral codes of living in order to be released from the bondage of worldly life and will thus be qualified to return to the spiritual world. All these will be achieved by developing the knowledge of relationship of individual being with God. Knowing that the living being is fully dependent on the mercy of Supreme God as a conscious spiritual particle of God, the sincere human being can transform himself to become a sincere servant of God. Thus, The next step is to adopt an unalloyed devotional service to the Supreme Lord, which consists of 9 devotional activities: hearing, chanting, remembering, serving, worshiping, praying, obeying, maintaining friendship, and surrendering everything, which will lead to attaining the highest goal of life, which is the love of God. Our effort, Saral Vandana, is dedicated to this endeavor. We will try to make this Ishwar Puja easier for you.